Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're taking a really fascinating journey through a single, incredibly dense day in human history. We usually tend to think of history as this vast, sprawling timeline, but sometimes the universe just decides to pack an astonishing amount of world-changing drama into one specific date on the calendar. And today, that date is August 22nd.
So think about this. What do the Tudor dynasty, the invention of the Cadillac, and the establishment of the Geneva Convention all have in common? They seem completely disconnected, right? They span different centuries, different continents, totally different fields of human achievement altogether. Okay, let's dive into this, because the crazy answer is that every single one of these monumental shifts happened on August 22nd.
To make sense of all this historical chaos, here's our roadmap for today. First, empires fall, dynasties rise. Then, the sparks of revolution. Third, a milestone for humanity. Fourth, innovations and firsts. And we'll wrap up with number 5, cultural shockwaves. Let's get moving.
Section 1. Empires fall, dynasties rise.
Our first section plunges us right into the heavy, high-stakes drama of royal power. Because, let's face it, when kings fall, they rarely go quietly. The year is 1485. We're at the Battle of Bosworth Field in England. On this single afternoon, King Richard III is killed in battle. And just like that, the Plantagenet dynasty, which had ruled for over 300 years, mind you, is instantly erased, gone. In its place, Henry VII claims the crown, which gives birth to the legendary Tudor dynasty. It's a complete rewrite of English history, and the whole shebang was decided in the blood and mud of one afternoon on August 22nd.
Skipping ahead a bit to 1642, the English monarchy is once again at a breaking point. King Charles I makes a really fateful decision on this exact day. He raises his royal standard in Nottingham. And this brilliantly illustrates how a single, highly provocative action can act as a match to a powder keg. By raising his standard, Charles wasn't just, making a political statement. He was officially calling his loyalists to arms, which sparked the brutal English Civil War.
Moving on to Section 2, the sparks of revolution.
From kings making decrees, we transition now to the commoners pushing back. Let's look at the uprisings and civil conflicts that erupted across the globe on this specific date. This timeline is wild because it threads across centuries and continents. In 1791, the massive and historic Haitian slave revolution officially begins in Saint-Domingue. Jump forward to 1922, and the Irish Civil War reaches a shocking climax when Michael Collins, the commander-in-chief of the Irish Free State Army, is shot dead in an ambush. Then, fast forward to 1978, and we see the Nicaraguan Revolution violently accelerate as the FSLN boldly strikes right at the heart of the government.
To really grasp the sheer scale of that 1978 event in Nicaragua, think about the number 1,000. When the FSLN seized the National Congress of Nicaragua on August 22nd, they didn't just take the building. They took over 1,000 hostages in a single, massive, coordinated strike. It completely, fundamentally upended the political landscape.
Continuing with that theme of clashes with authority, but moving into modern American history, August 22nd also marks the tragic end to a highly publicized standoff. In 1992, an 11-day siege at a cabin in Ruby Ridge, Idaho, came to a fatal conclusion when an FBI sniper shot and killed Vicki Weaver. It remains one of the most intensely scrutinized confrontations between federal law enforcement and citizens in recent history.
Section 3. A milestone for humanity.
Now prepare for a bit of thematic whiplash here. We've seen a lot of conflict, violence, and war so far. But August 22nd is also responsible for one of the most optimistic, forward-thinking leaps in human rights ever recorded. The first Geneva Convention, signed in 1864, was a treaty establishing the rules of protection for the victims of armed conflicts. So the crucial point is that, in an era where warfare was becoming increasingly industrialized and deadly, humanity actually paused on this day. They agreed that even in our darkest moments of war, there absolutely must be a baseline of compassion and medical neutrality on the battlefield.
But here's my absolute favorite detail about this monumental treaty. 12. That's it. The first Geneva Convention, literally the very foundation of modern international humanitarian law, was originally signed by just 12 nations. It just goes to prove that a remarkably small group of people can set a precedent that changes the rules for the entire globe forever.
Section 4. Innovations and firsts.
Okay, let's shift the narrative to a much brighter, upbeat tone. August 22nd has also been a prolific incubator for leaps in exploration, the founding of cities, and massive technological firsts. We're going to go rapid fire through these progressive milestones. Ready? Boom. 1639, the British East India Company founds Madras in India, which we know today as Chennai. 1770, explorer James Cook lands on Possession Island and claims the east coast of Australia for Britain as New South Wales. 1851, the yacht named America wins the very first America's Cup. 1902, the legendary Cadillac Motor Company is officially founded. And speaking of automobiles, on that exact same day in 1902, Theodore Roosevelt becomes the first U.S. president to make a public appearance in a car. The world was just rapidly accelerating on this day.
And finally, Section 5, Cultural Shockwaves. Entering our final chapter, let's zoom in on some highly specific, deeply memorable pop culture and sports moments that left an indelible mark. Because, history isn't just treaties and wars. It's also the entertainment and cultural shocks that define an era. Now, what's really interesting about this is the number 5,000 and the sheer magnitude of athletic endurance it represents. On August 22, 1989, legendary pitcher Nolan Ryan struck out Rickey Henderson. In doing so, Ryan became the first Major League Baseball pitcher in history to record 5,000 career strikeouts. It's a record of pure, unyielding dominance on the mound.
But baseball on August 22nd isn't just about majestic records. It's also about absolute chaos. Consider two of the wildest anomalies in the sport's history. In 1965, Giants pitcher Juan Marichal actually struck Dodgers catcher John Roseboro in the head with a bat, which sparked a terrifying and violent 14-minute on-field brawl. Contrast that with 2007, where the chaos was entirely on the scoreboard. The Texas Rangers defeated the Baltimore Orioles 30-3. That set the modern Major League record for the most runs scored by a team in a single game.
And hey, it wouldn't be a true day of historical shockwaves without a dramatic heist, right? In 2004, armed robbers walked into a museum in Oslo, Norway in broad daylight. At gunpoint, they tore down and stole versions of Edvard Munch's priceless masterpieces, The Scream and Madonna. It just proves that wild history happens just as easily in quiet art museums as it does on battlefields.
So, as we wrap up this journey through the chaotic, dense, and honestly deeply fascinating events of August 22nd, I want to leave you with a question. What historical milestone might be happening today without you even realizing it? As you go about your own 24 hours, remember that empires could be shifting, world-changing treaties could be signed, or a monumental invention might just be quietly taking its first test drive. History is dense, and it is happening all around us, right now. Thanks for learning with me today on The Explainer.